Today I would like to talk about impact of AI-based language services on English business communication in Japan. In recent years, AI-based English communication services have become increasingly prevalent in business environments, where English plays a vital role as a common lingua franca. However, despite the growing importance of English in these settings, Japanese speakers face considerable acquisition challenges. These challenges stem from significant differences between the English and Japanese languages, including variations in grammatical structures, vocabulary, and other linguistic factors. This study aims to explore the impact of AI on cross-cultural communication in Japan. It specifically focuses on how AI influences multimodality in communication, as well as the role of English as a lingua franca or ELF in these interactions. Language distance refers to how different two languages are, which influences how challenging it can be to learn one language from the perspective of another. For Japanese speakers learning English, the challenges are considerable due to significant differences in several linguistic areas. First, phonology. Japanese has fewer sounds compared to English, making it difficult for learners to produce and distinguish certain English sounds. In syntax, the two languages follow different word orders. Japanese follows a subject-object-verb, SV, structure, while English uses a subject-verb-object, SVO, order. Moreover, Japanese verb conjugations are simpler, whereas English has more complex rules involving tense and aspect. Additionally, the writing systems differ vastly, with Japanese using kanji and kana, as opposed to the Latin alphabet used in English. These linguistic differences, coupled with cultural factors such as indirect communication styles in Japanese, make it more challenging for native Japanese speakers to achieve proficiency in English. This table illustrates that the distance between Japanese and English is the greatest, highlighting the high level of difficulty for a Japanese person to become proficient in English. This is another study that highlights the challenges Japanese speakers face when learning English. Willingness to communicate, or WTC, refers to an individual's tendency to initiate communication when the opportunity arises. Initially, it was developed for first language communication by McCroskey and Richmond in 1987, and was later adapted for second language use by McIntyre and Churros in 1996. WTC describes a learner's readiness to speak or use the target language, considering factors like motivation, confidence, and anxiety, as well as the social and cultural context. A key component is the perceived competence to engage in communication. Several factors influence an individual's willingness to communicate, or WTC, in a second language. The first factor is linguistic self-confidence, a person's belief in their ability to use the language effectively. This confidence can directly impact their willingness to engage in communication. Second are personality traits, traits such as extroversion, openness, or introversion, which can shape communication tendencies and preferences. Social and contextual factors also play a role. These include the environment, the familiarity of the interlocutors, and the surrounding cultural norms, all of which affect one's WTC. Finally, psychological factors like anxiety, motivation, and attitudes toward the language or its speakers are crucial. These factors determine the emotional landscape surrounding communication efforts. Now we'd like to look at WTC in Japanese EFL context. In second language contexts, willingness to communicate, or WTC, is influenced by more than just communication behavior in one's first language. It is shaped by a broader set of psychological and social factors. For example, Yashima, 2002, highlighted that in the Japanese EFL context, WTC is influenced by what is called international posture. This concept refers to learners' attitudes toward global engagement and intercultural communication. According to this model, learners who adopt a more international mindset are generally more motivated and confident in using their second language, or L2. This increased motivation and confidence ultimately enhances their willingness to communicate. Perceived competence refers to an individual's belief in their ability to successfully communicate, especially when using a second language. This is a critical psychological factor that influences a person's willingness to initiate communication. Perceived competence is based on an individual's assessment of their proficiency in various communication scenarios. This sense of competence can vary depending on the context, such as whether the communication partner is a stranger or someone more familiar. Higher perceived competence is associated with a greater willingness to communicate, as individuals are less likely to fear failure in these interactions. On the other hand, lower perceived competence, often linked to language anxiety, can serve as a barrier to communication. When talking about non-native English, we must look at the concept of translanguaging. Translanguaging refers to the strategic use of a multilingual speaker's entire linguistic repertoire. It acknowledges that speakers draw on all available linguistic resources to communicate effectively and meaningfully. Initially developed for educational settings, translanguaging enhances learning, comprehension, and communication. It reflects the daily interactions of multilingual individuals as they navigate between languages to accommodate different interlocutors, topics, or cultural nuances. This approach challenges the traditional view of languages as distinct, separate systems. Instead, it shows how multilingual speakers fluidly integrate their linguistic knowledge to convey meaning. Crucially, translanguaging is not about simply code switching between languages. Rather, it emphasizes the continuous and creative use of one's full linguistic repertoire without boundaries. Multimodality refers to the use of multiple communication channels that go beyond verbal language alone. It incorporates spoken or written language, as well as nonverbal cues such as gestures, facial expressions, body language, and visual aids. Multimodality also includes images, sound, and digital media, all of which contribute to the way meaning is conveyed. This approach recognizes the interaction of various modes to communicate effectively. In today's digital age, multimodal communication is essential. Written texts are often accompanied by images, hyperlinks, emojis, or videos to enrich the message. In education, multimodal approaches enhance both comprehension and engagement by incorporating visual, auditory, and interactive elements. Let's move on to translanguaging and multimodality of communication. Multilingual speakers often rely on gestures, visual cues, and the blending of languages to enhance clarity in communication. In digital contexts, communication frequently combines translanguaging with multimodal strategies, such as the use of images or emojis to convey meaning more effectively. These approaches challenge traditional views of language by emphasizing the fluidity and integration of communicative resources, showcasing how speakers draw from multiple modes and languages to construct meaning. To investigate the effects of AI on language use, we conducted an online survey with approximately 100 Japanese business professionals, followed by in-depth interviews with a subset of these participants. Our research addresses the following questions. 1. How has AI impacted the English used by Japanese business professionals? 2. Has AI influenced Japanese business professionals' attitudes or perceptions regarding the use of English as a lingua franca? 3. What are the anticipated future trends in English usage and learning within Japan? 4. What will be the impact of AI-driven language services on the multimodality of English as a lingua franca communication? These questions aim to explore the broader influence of AI on language and communication within the context of Japanese business. Our research is still in its early stages, and we are currently in the process of gathering data. This study aims to provide insights into the evolving role of AI in language services, with a particular focus on how it supports multimodal and cross-cultural communication in business environments. As we continue to collect and analyze data, we look forward to sharing our preliminary findings and receiving valuable feedback at the conference. This input will be instrumental in refining and enhancing our ongoing work. One of our key findings shows that a significant majority of participants, 80.3%, reported using AI-supported language services. On the other hand, 19.7% indicated that they do not use these services. This data, collected from a sample size of 76 participants, highlights the growing prevalence of AI-driven language tools in business environments, suggesting a trend toward increased reliance on these technologies for communication. Our data reveals a variety of AI-supported language services used by participants. Among the most popular services, DeepL was the most frequently used, with 39% of respondents selecting it. Google services followed at 26%, while 16% of participants reported using ChatGPT. Other services, such as Grammarly, 8%, free web translators, 4%, and Gemini, 3%, were less commonly used, though they still played a role in supporting language needs. It is important to note that participants were allowed to select multiple services, reflecting the diverse range of tools utilized in their communication practices. Our survey results indicate a high level of satisfaction among users of AI-supported language services. Many participants highlighted the following reasons for their satisfaction. The translation functions are seen as reliable. The services are described as convenient and customizable. Participants believe that these tools are useful in their daily work. The translation and correction functions are considered highly refined. Overall, the translation and correction features, along with other aspects of the services, are perceived to be well designed. One of the participants shared how they use AI-supported language tools in a strategic way, not completely relying on machine translation, but using it to assist in writing English. This participant, a technical manager at a manufacturing company, regularly communicates with technical managers or support engineers at client companies. They recommend using the tool in a specific way for business purposes. First, create sentences in Japanese that can be easily and directly translated into English. Use bullet points to highlight the main points and include them in the title. Keep the document as simple as possible for clarity. This approach helps ensure that communication is both efficient and effective in business settings. One participant shared that they find ChatGPT helpful for proofreading and writing in English, though they recognize that tools like Grammarly sometimes offer unnecessary suggestions or introduce mistakes. The accuracy of AI translation tools has improved, but errors still occur, even in services like DeepL. This participant finds using these tools more efficient than starting from scratch. However, they emphasize that while AI tools serve as useful references, they ultimately rely on their own judgment and decision-making when finalizing their work. Participants shared that AI tools are particularly useful for identifying grammar mistakes and typos. They also find these tools helpful for quickly translating English papers into Japanese. However, some participants noted that the process of copying and pasting can be a hassle at times. Despite this, many appreciate how these tools help refine their English into a more polished form, especially when they feel uncertain about their writing. Many participants expressed that AI tools have significantly boosted their confidence and reduced anxiety when writing in English. These tools provide instant grammar correction, helping users identify recurring patterns in their mistakes, which fosters learning and improvement over time. Some participants also noted that using multiple services to verify correctness has become a valuable practice, ensuring higher accuracy in their writing. The evolution of these AI tools has been so profound that they are now considered indispensable by many. In fact, some believe that these tools might even reduce the need for native speakers to check English translations as the AI's accuracy continues to improve. Our discussion focuses on the connection between willingness to communicate, WTC, and AI-based language services in second language communication. WTC highlights communication confidence and anxiety as critical factors influencing a person's ability to engage in a second language. AI-based services can play a significant role in this process by boosting perceived communicative competence. These tools foster greater willingness to engage in communication by offering real-time feedback and immediate corrections. Additionally, AI services help reduce anxiety by mitigating the fear of making mistakes, as users receive instant guidance and corrections. This alleviation of anxiety can make individuals more confident and comfortable in using a second language. These psychological factors, enhanced by AI tools, ultimately support and increase the willingness to communicate, especially in English. AI language services have a positive impact on language learning by correcting mistakes and enhancing sentence expression. For instance, when users encounter new words or phrases, they can immediately see their meanings and pronunciations, which provides excellent learning opportunities and supports continuous improvement in language proficiency. For individuals who have spent large sums of money on proofreading and editing their English writing, AI language services present a way to significantly reduce these costs. English learners, who have also invested time and money in having their writing corrected, can benefit from these services by cutting down on such expenses. Perhaps most impressively, the ability of these services to process corrections instantly and efficiently is a feature that is expected to dramatically enhance English communication. As for further research, we aim to examine specific cases of AI implementation in companies and evaluate the actual benefits gained from these technologies. AI-based language services play a key role in expanding users' linguistic repertoires while providing enhanced multimodality in communication. By offering real-time corrections, feedback, and insights, these tools not only improve sentence expression, but also broaden users' vocabulary and language skills through multiple communication modes. Ultimately, AI language services enhance non-native speakers' willingness to communicate, empowering them to become more confident and competent users of English as a lingua franca.